There are fewer things in baseball more exciting than watching a triple play. They range from the routine 5-4-3 to the 4-6-5-6-5-3-4 triple play, which the boys in the Bronx turned back in 2013. But there's a new contender on the books. 3 of our favorite things are all coming together. National Hot Dog Month, Ballpark Buns, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ballpark Buns, America's favorite bun, is celebrating National Hot Dog Month with the Fame On sweepstakes. The lucky winner will get a VIP experience at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, plus $3,000 for travel. The VIP experience includes behind-the-scenes and after-hours access to an amazing institution that keeps baseball legends alive. And don't forget to keep your summer rolling with Ballpark. Perfect for grilling, tailgating, parties, and more. Ballpark hot dog and hamburger buns deliver fresh taste and outstanding flavor. With 5 varieties of buns and rolls, make Ballpark Buns part of your next meal and watch the crowd go wild. To enter the Fame On sweepstakes, go to ballparkbuns.com/fameon. It's Client Appreciation Month at Sport Clips Haircuts. Get a double MVP for the price of an MVP, or cool it down and try the MVP on ice. It's our way of saying thanks for all you do. Hurry, ends July 31st. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy.
Well, we continue here on Mike and Trey on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, of course, if you want to tweet us, you know how to do that, the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. And there are lots of things to tweet us about.
Yeah, there are.
We got the running back situation. What is the number to set the market for running backs? What was the most food you ever binged on? Going back to, what's the player's name?
Yohan Moncada. He was called up from the White Sox, and he is known for eating basically an average of 85 Twinkies a week. That's a big high. One week is 225 Twinkies in a week. So we're asking you what's the most you've ever binged on in junk food, and we're giving you a wide berth in the junk food department. Me and my 2 brothers went to a restaurant years and years ago,
like last year,
and it was like 10-cent wing night.
Okay,
yeah,
bad.
And
bad.
Along with wings, they served this ale product.
Ale? Was it mead?
Yeah.
Was it mead, Mike?
Yes, barley and hop product along with it. I didn't break the 100 mark. Both my brothers did.
Wow.
I think Greg was in the 140s and Bob might have been in the 120s. I was in the 90s.
Well, you were a young pup then.
In that, I was a young pup there. So excited at one point and had a few in us that I remember they had low ceiling fans, and we at one point raised our hands to rejoice and required some Band-Aids.
Well, at least you didn't try and make a pancake.
Yeah, good point.
Jeff Darlington did yesterday and burned his hand.
So I think that's the most I ever ate of a. And I said this before the show, and people were like, were wings junk food? There's 2 categories. There's healthy food and there's not healthy food, right?
Yeah.
Where are you putting wings?
They're borderline.
Lathered. Really?
Yes. If there's
wings
a spectrum.
Are borderline?
Well, let's do a graph.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
There's the spectrum, and here's the bad side, and here's the good side.
It's on the bad side.
Well, yeah, but it sort of crosses over to because it's chicken. It's lean protein.
How about lathered in ranch or blue cheese dressing?
Well, then deep fried.
Yeah.
So it starts out good, and then it kind of goes bad, kind of like the egg sandwich that I ate. After 2 weeks in the fridge.
Cook tweets in that he's 42, a bag of Doritos a day with a Mountain Dew since I was 5.
That's just chemical imbalance.
Wow.
That's not
good.
That's
a good consistency over time.
Well, has he done that every day since he's fine? Since he was 5?
Every day since he was 5. I don't know if I believe it.
How big is the bag? Are we talking like those snack bags or a full
bags.
Snack bags? Easy. You can polish off 2 or 3 of those.
But he's saying every day since he was 5. He's 42 now. That's 37 years times 365.
I admire the commitment.
Yeah,
I do admire that commitment.
I wonder if he looks like a Dorito.
Well, it probably looks more like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah,
I would imagine. How about this one? Now, this one I really have to, Joe is his name. This is a Joe thing. 10 pounds of gravy fries in one sitting. I was 20. Couldn't do that now. Gravy fries, really good.
Certainly the gravy
really
is going to add to the weight of that.
Yeah.
And I wonder what 10 pounds of gravy fries looks like before you eat it.
Well, why don't you get at Big Joe Crash.
I'm not going
And by the way, of course, if he does this, his handle is Big Joe.
Big Joe.
Little Joe ate packing in 10 pounds of gravy
Kyle
fries.
says 5-pound bag of peanut M&Ms will be gone in a half hour.
Yeah.
You know what? I can see that. I mean, you go through those. I mean, just boom.
Which one was that?
Right below Big Joe.
Yeah.
5-pound bag of peanut M&Ms.
Wasn't there something you were doing with not with hot dogs recently? How much you could? Wasn't that something?
Somebody was asking with the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. How many do they think I could eat in the 10 minutes?
Right.
I thought the over-under, people were putting it like 19 and a half. Putting it to 20. I don't think I could.
I think you get to 20.
I don't think you got to do buns as well.
Yeah, we just have that water.
10 minutes. I don't know.
I think you could do it.
I don't know
I
if
have
I
faith
could.
in you. In fact, someone asked me about that on Twitter, and I said, "Oh, did you see what he did with the donuts? That was a piece
donuts.
of cake.
I crushed those.
Right.
And Mike and I, we read at one point somebody won a contest in Colorado by eating a pound of bacon, won some sort of prize, and Mike was doing the show with me that day, and my son, and we kind of laughed.
Yeah.
In 3 minutes. It was a pound of bacon in 3 minutes.
That's nothing.
So, of course, the calf cooked us each a pound of bacon, and Mike ate it in 1:08, and I ate it in about 1:40. So we laughed at your 3 minutes.
That's why I think you could totally do the hot dog thing.
I don't know.
You could totally do it.
I don't know.
There's this great Twitter account called Freezing Cold Takes. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not.
What they do is they take guys like you and me and sports writers and broadcasters, and when they do these hot takes, declarative statements that can't really be proven,
right.
just to generate interest on both sides. Look at me, I'm saying something important, and they categorize them, and then they come back and bring them back a year later when you're wrong. So when I said, Golic could do this in a heartbeat, Freezing Cold Takes retweeted it, said, noted. So at some point we have to see if you can do this.
Okay.
Because I'm all in on you, big guy.
I don't think I could do 20.
Yes, you could.
I don't think I could.
19 and a half. All you do is 19 and a half.
The under-over. I got to be over, don't I? I can't tie. Isn't that a push?
3/4.
One bite after the half?
One bite after the half.
I don't know if I could.
Do we need to? I think we need to fire this
up.
up.
No, we do not.
Right?
Do you know how bad I would feel after that?
Well, we'll do it on a Friday.
Oh, that's different?
Well, every bad thing happens on a Friday.
How long it's taken me to get this sexy body?
Do you want them grilled or boiled?
Boiled.
Okay, there you go. Well, next Friday.
No.
Next Friday.
No.
Right? I'm in next Friday.
No.
Yes.
No.
This is preparation
we're not
for
doing it.
This is preparation for the barbecue that we're having with your son.
Absolutely
This is
not.
show prep. This is show prep.
No.
Why are you staring away from this challenge?
If you want to give me an appearance fee, then we'll talk about it.
Here's a nickel.
Yeah.
I'll pay for the hot dogs.
What?
I'll pay for the hot dogs.
No.
Come on.
I'm not doing it.
Listen, you have that moment where everything you believe in life is just crushed?
There's nothing gained
That's
here.
it.
There's like nothing. There's no bet here. There's no payoff for me doing that.
By the way, Freezing Cold Takes just tweeted, thanks for the heads up. So we're all in. You got to do it now.
I said I couldn't. I'm the person that's going to do it, and I'm telling them.
Why do you doubt yourself on this and nothing else?
I don't think I could eat that many. Not in 10 minutes.
Hembo.
The dog and the buns. You have to dip the buns in the water, which adds to it.
Yeah.
My stomach would really expand.
Well, we've seen it get much bigger than it is now.
It's
There's room for expansion.
You're right about that.
Hembo, tell me I'm right. He could do this, right?
I'm not certain that you could, Golic.
Yeah.
Well, now we have to do it. Now there's
in you.
great uncertainty. I think this has to happen.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I'll try and do that.
Yeah.
If we get 20 half cheese and egg sandwiches, leave them in a fridge for a month.
Okay.
And then you have to eat those while I'm eating the hot dogs.
All 20 at one time?
Yes.
20 egg sandwiches is a lot.
Oh, okay.
I'm not, I'm not
is a
you.
lot.
Yeah, but you're you.
20 half sandwiches.
I'm live and
so it's
lean.
really only 10.
I'm minute. I'm we.
You are?
Yes.
Have you seen yourself?
Shut up, I hate you.
Past a mirror anytime soon?
What's that? I don't know what a mirror is. Come on, you can do this. We're gonna work on this.
Yeah, you can work on it all you want.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But you know what's gonna happen now?
What's that?
Off the top.
Okay.
Where's the button?
Hit it.
I don't know.
Hit
I
the
lost
button.
it. I'm trying to find it.
The button.
I'm trying to find
the
it.
button.
It moved. This is terrible.
It's off the top.
I'm looking for it. Where is it?
Find the button.
I've got da. There it is.
Off
the top. Hey, there it is.
Okay.
That was the worst radio ever.
Hit 5 home runs before you find.
Well, he did hit one in the home run first inning last night, as did Mike Trout. And Harper finished the game 4 for 4, extending his hit streak to 13 games.
Highest WAR in an age 22 season or younger.
WAR is fake news, by the way.
Mike Trout wins above replacement. Mike Trout's number 1 all time.
Fake news.
Then Ted Williams, then Bryce Harper, then Rogers Hornsby. That's a pretty good group.
It's a very good list.
Yeah, it is.
You know what's not good? Me missing the off the top button.
Off the top.
I'm not going to do that again.
Idiot.
Dodgers became the first team to win 30 games in a 34-game span since the 77 Royals.
Yeah, and before that it was a 47 Yankees and 41 Yankees, both winning the World Series. The Royals in 77 lost in the AL So we'll see what the Dodgers are doing there.
Did you just eat a hot dog? You all right? What's going on?
The thought of it just made a little agita. Dodgers have 2 10-game winning streaks. The rest of baseball combined has 2. How about this? The Dodgers have won 14 straight Clayton Kershaw starts, and they've also won 11 straight Alex Wood starts.
Yeah.
So
good luck when they're starting.
25 straight games started by those two. The last loss was May 1st. They are on a ridiculous run right now.
That is very good. You know what else is good?
What's that?
Off the top.
Trades.
Yeah.
The Yankees picked up Todd Frazier and right-handed relievers David Robertson and Tommy Kahnle from the White Sox for 4 players.
While Todd Frazier is having a bit of a down year, he still can knock the ball out of the park at a better rate than any of the Yankees' third basemen. The Yankees' third baseman, 4 home runs from third base this season, fewest in the majors. So Frazier will be he'll be used at third and at first as well. Also, they pick up a couple of relievers. The Yankees now have 5 of the 25 highest strikeout rates in baseball amongst their relievers as they sit 3.5 games behind the Red Sox. The biggest thing about getting Frazier was that
they beat
Red Sox were looking to get Frazier, so they stopped from going there.
All right, so there's some good news in baseball.
Off the top.
And then there's bad news. Carlos Correa expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks after tearing the ligament in his left thumb Monday.
Yeah, he did the Mike Trout injury, is what he did. And Trout has come back, and as we just mentioned in the first off the top, hit a home run the same first inning as Bryce Harper. Correa doing it, swinging a bat. Trout sliding into second. Correa swung the bat, dropped the bat, grabbed his hand. 6 to 8 weeks later, we'll see how we can come back from it.
Yeah, that'll be difficult. And we'll finish up
Off the top.
with today marks 50 days until the start of the NFL season. Over the last 5 seasons, Drew Brees has recorded 50 300-yard passing games, which is insane. That includes postseason.
And Tom Brady is second with 39 in that span. So my quick math says that's 11 behind. Five rookie report today from 5 different teams: Bears, Cowboys, Jaguars, Ravens, and Saints. Start of camp. I'll never forget my first one, man. It's daunting.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, it absolutely is.
We got rookies going in 5 of those camps.
Yep.
And we'll get into that a little later, what we could expect from those rookies on each of those teams. But Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. All right, if we can convince you to do the hot dog thing, you know what I'm going to do for you?
What?
I'm going to give you some Cheribundi. It's good for you.
It's not happening.
It'll make you feel a lot better, give you.
You think that's going to motivate me to grind down 20 hot dogs in 10 minutes?
Cheribundi helps you recover.
Can I tell you, it's not?
It's going to happen. We're going to make this work.
Inside that Cheribundi bottle better be about 10 G's, okay?
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
What?
I can't do it. Well, for some. Anyway, but we'll get you that. You'll feel better about it, so it's good. But anyway, as we said, 50 days to the start of the NFL season, 5 teams starting training camps today. And Mike Sando on ESPN.com did a really interesting thing. He took a bunch of panelists. The panelists that were great, they included Tony Dungy, Pete Carroll, a bunch of really, really knowledgeable football players, and he put a list of the top 10 quarterbacks in the modern era.
Right.
When we say modern era, he cut it off as the most significant seasons before the 1978 cutoff.
1978.
I don't know why 78
I don't
is
know
the
either.
number. That's the only problem I have with Mike's methodology, because it's a fascinating list when you look at it. But like some of the players on this list were excluded from the survey because some of their most significant seasons fell before the 1978 cutoff. I get it. 78 first year, 16 games.
Okay.
I get it now.
Because you look at a few quarterbacks during that time, guys like Terry Bradshaw and Ken Stabler had their most notable seasons. Before that, a guy like Dan Fouts played
on
before 78, but he was included. He did play some before 78, but was included because his career really took off beginning in 1978.
With
so
the
he
Air
is
Coryell offense.
Included in it. So that's kind of the reasoning behind 1978.
All right, I'm mad at myself that it took me that long to figure out that.
I'm mad at you as well. I'm so mad at you.
You know what? You should I should make it up to you by giving you 19 and a half hot dogs in 10 minutes. Try. I'm going to keep trying. We're gonna keep chopping wood, as they say. So here's the list: the top 10 quarterbacks in the modern era, according to Mike Sando and his panelists. Tom Brady is number 1. Peyton Manning is number 2. Joe Montana is number 3. Aaron Rodgers 5. Dan Marino 6. Brett Favre 7. Steve Young 8. Drew Brees 9. And Dan Fouts comes in at number 10. What do you think of that list?
Joe Montana down to 3rd.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? That's the first thing I thought of.
Did you go 3 to 5? Did you skip 4 for some reason?
John Elway is 4.
John Elway is 4. I was wondering why you did that.
I don't like 4.
You did rankings. You went 1, 2, 3, 5. I thought
well, if you're not first, you're last.
What's going on there?
It's all the same.
Joe Montana too low at 3. I think it would be Montana and Brady vying for the number 1 slot. Quite honestly, which means if they're in my eyes, if they're doing that, then who is ever not number 1 would be number 2. So I think I may flip Joe and Peyton. Though Peyton, I mean, the numbers we've seen are absolutely off the charts, and one of the greatest of all time. Certainly had some success in the postseason, but was we call him the greatest regular season quarterback.
I think the line with Peyton, he has the most one and dones of any playoffs of any.
I think I would put Joe number 2.
Well, this brings in the interesting dynamic that we get into a lot on NFL Live, and a lot of people disagree and agree with the premise that wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. And that becomes the issue of where do you put wins and losses, and where do you put the idea of championships belonging to a quarterback.
Right.
Society in general, the sporting society in general, puts a huge, huge amount of championships won on a quarterback's legacy.
Yep, absolutely.
But, by the measure of John Elway coming in at number 4, had he not won those last 2 Super Bowls in his last 2 years of his career,
which a lot of it you could
was Terrell Davis and a pretty good defense, he would be 0 for 3 in Super Bowls and got blown out worse. His team did each time they played. Right. The first one was 39-20, the next one was 42-10, and the next one was 55-10. So, where is the dynamic in where you rank quarterbacks based on playoffs won and Super Bowls?
And I look at play because these are all guys, obviously, since 1978. We've seen them play.
Right. The autograms and Johnny
I played against some of these guys as well. So I look more at the play than the winning. I mean, there's part of me that still wants to almost put Joe Montana number 1, quite honestly.
A lot of people feel that way.
But again, so the list 1 to 10, Brady, Manning, Montana, Elway, Rodgers, Marino, Favre, Steve Young, Drew Brees, Dan Faust, number 10. Notables out, I immediately got 3.
I'm going to get the same too.
Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, were the 3 that were left out. Should they be in there would be the question. That's the one thing. Obviously, if you put one of them in there, 2 of them in there, 3 of them, you have to drop somebody out. So, I mean, this is obviously a subjective thing.
Of course it is.
Of how you look at it. But I think that's the first thing I would do is I would put Montana number 2.
Let me throw another name out there. Kurt Warner owns the best postseason passer rating of the modern era since 1978. He's a 2-time league MVP.
He does.
And up until this past season, when Tom Brady had that amazing fourth quarter, the top 3 passing yard totals in Super Bowl history were Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner.
Yeah. And certainly this is one of those you put in the offense they played in, the greatest show on turf. And I don't put Kurt Warner in the top 10 in this list.
That's a fair assessment.
I don't.
The question becomes then, how do you grade the quarterback? Do you grade the quarterback by the skill of the position and how he executes it? Do you weigh that against the postseason record of the team, or do you put postseason wins and Super Bowl wins above everything?
Well, I mean, I think you have to put –
Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Dan Fouts never won a Super Bowl. They're both in the top 10.
I think you have to look at, okay, if they didn't win, but how did they play? Because, again, there's other sides of the ball.
I agree with you.
There are 3 parts to this, special teams, offense, defense. So a quarterback could play well, a defense could not. So how did you do – because you're obviously in the playoffs playing against the upper, echelon of the league. And the Super Bowl, supposedly the best team from the other conference. So
supposedly.
So I would say how well you can play in those, I think, goes a long way. It's like we talk in anything. It's the bright lights. Who's Reggie Jackson being Mr. October, who shows up. So we talk about that's holding Clayton Kershaw back, right? Kershaw is like the Peyton Manning of baseball. Great in the regular season. You're waiting for him to do something in the postseason. And then you have guys that just absolutely light it up in the postseason when the light's the brightest. And I think you have to weight that to their favor when you're doing it when the light is the brightest.
Well, yes, but again, how did they play, not whether or not their team won.
Exactly right.
I'll give you an example. Right. And, again, I'm not picking on them, but this is just a clear example of it. Quarterback wins it's the most arbitrary stat there is. Do you remember the game the Patriots, the first home game the Patriots ever lost in the Brady-Belichick era was the 2009 wild card game when the Ravens went in there and beat them. And Ray Rice ran for 108. I think the first play from scrimmage was an 80-yard touchdown run. And he ended up with close to 200 yards rushing in that game, or well over 150. And Joe Flacco gets credit for a quarterback win in the postseason in that game. He was 4 of 10 for 39 yards, no touchdown passes and interceptions in that game. Yet he gets credit for the win.
Right.
It's a weird
thing. It
is.
That's why I say I think you do have to look at the play.
Yeah.
If your team was in the Super Bowl, so the one game, the biggest game, who would you want your quarterback? There's part of me that still leans to Montana.
Yeah.
There really is part of me that leans to Montana.
Here's the thing that sealed it for me, I think, in looking at Brady in that aspect was this past Super Bowl. And let me explain. He did not play well for 3.5 quarters.
No, he did not.
And it reminded me a little bit of what Russell Wilson did a few years ago in the NFC Championship game against the Packers. He was dog meat in that game. He was awful. But once they had a chance to win, it's like he flipped a switch. And the same thing happened with Brady. To me, the hardest thing about being an athlete is having the belief in yourself that you still can do it when you kind of sucked out there for a while.
Right.
I mean, Brady had that pick six that went back the other way, but right after they went down, they couldn't punch it into the end zone. They kicked the field goal to make it 28-12, which made it a 16-point game. And I remember I was sitting with a bunch of people that think, they should go for it here. I'm like, hold on a minute. It's unlikely, but if you don't get the touchdown here, you've basically got no chance to win. If you kick a field goal, you still have a chance to win because it's 2 scores and 2 2-point conversions. So you keep yourself in the game for as long as possible. And as soon as Dante Hightower got that strip sack fumble recovery that gave them a short field, it was like Tom Brady was a different player.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he couldn't frickin' miss. He couldn't miss. And that's what makes the greats the greatest, is the belief in yourself that I've stunk it up, but watch what I'm going to do when I have a chance.
Talking about how subjective this is, look at the first 4 tweets I got.
Yeah.
Dexter. First he calls me a homer about Montana because of Notre Dame, but that's nothing.
Whatever.
No way Montana should be in the top 5. That's the first tweet I got. Next tweet from Tom.
Based on what, by the way? I'm just curious. Just because?
That's his opinion. So he says Montana shouldn't be in the top 5. Very next tweet, Tom. The list is bogus. I would put Montana and Elway over Brady. So that goes completely the other way.
Yeah.
Next one, Eric. Favre doesn't belong in the top 10. Too many interceptions, killing his team. And then J. Cole says, you can't put those postseason losses on Peyton Manning. He had some bad defenses. Look what happened when he had a good defense. I was going to say, if you don't want to put the bad losses on him, it's tough to put the good Super Bowl win and give him credit for it in Denver because it was the defense that led the way there. Which way do you want to go there?
That's exactly right. And the thing is, the same thing for people's perception. Like, to me, Peyton will always be one of the all-time greats. Whether or not he won another Super Bowl, it's
completely agree. It's
irrelevant.
Just a matter of where you're going to put him.
Correct. So you can't, for people whose perception of Peyton Manning changed because of that Super Bowl, you don't know what you're talking about because he wasn't the reason they won. In fact, if you watch that tape, and I love Peyton, don't get me wrong. You can make the case, had he played better, they could have beaten him by a lot. A lot. He just missed a lot of throws in that game. He absolutely did. So if your perception of Peyton Manning changed because of Super Bowl 50, might I suggest you dig deeper, is our way to look at it. So anyway, the list is out there. It's on ESPN.com. Mike Sando did a great job with it. And by the way, the 78 cutoff is not just about 16 games, but also about a lot of rule changes in the passing game per Mike. So that's why he chose that year. You can go up and check it out on ESPN.com. It's a great article. There's lots of debate, obviously, about it. Feel free to tweet us at Mike and Mike or at ESPN Golic or at Wingo's about that list if you want. We'll keep that going.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030. Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at lq.com.
All right, we roll on here on Mike and Trey and Mike, Golic and Wingo, Wingos and Golic,
however
chicken
you want
wings,
to say
whatever.
Figure out something.
Later this fall, November 27th, it'll all be official.
Yeah.
We're officially delighted.
Yes, we are.
Delighted to welcome in LSU head coach Ed Orgeron into the studios now. He joins us in studio giving us a straight talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. All right, before we get into substantive stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed as you were coming into the studio, we played what we call an in-bump here on the TV side, and it was basically your players sort of having a little fun at your expense with the voice.
Yeah.
Does that ever get old for you?
No, I love it. It's respect. We like one big family, one team, one heartbeat.
God, it's fantastic. I got to ask.
If you had a coach's voice, that would be a coach's voice.
It's just awesome.
Out of Central Cast.
For the people listening on radio, Coach is in a great suit with a beautiful purple tie. And how much do you not want to be in a suit and coat and tie?
You know, I love representing LSU.
I know, but there's purple sweat gear too.
There's no question, and that's soon going to happen. Come July 30, we're going to be in sweats and we're going to be in practice gear and ready to go.
Well, we are all about every day is casual.
Yes,
Friday
we are.
Here on
Yes,
this
it
show.
is.
So
Without question.
I just want you to know, whenever you are here, we're welcome. You dress as you want.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are not about it. We are a little more casual than most operations.
How going back to, we know of you being, when you were the interim coach in USC, then the interim coach at LSU, and so many of us, when LSU was then going to hire a coach, were like, man, they got the guy right there. Exactly. They got the guy right there, and everybody wondered, are they going to go out for this person or that person? And we thought, finally, a team did the right thing. They just hired the guy that everybody thinks can get the job done. Did you think you had that, or did you think, again, you were going to get bypassed?
I felt all along it was going to be tight. I knew we had to win. We had to produce because the expectations of LSU are high. I had a great relationship with Joe Leva. He told me the truth the whole way, and all the way up to the end, we were in it. I didn't know if we were going to get it towards the end, but we did.
What did that mean to you when you finally got it? Hey, it's yours.
Yeah, I thank God. I thank God he had a plan to bring me back home to represent the people from Louisiana. I felt that I'm ready with my interim stint at USC and at LSU. I'm ready to represent the Tigers in a great way.
And one of the first things that you did, and I love, and I think obviously not only alumni love, but former players, is you wanted to get them back in the fold. And sometimes that's an issue when new coaches come in. Sometimes the former players get forgotten, and you wanted to make sure you brought them back in the fold. Why was that so important to you?
Well, the alumni are powerful, as you know. We have a great tradition. We have some great players that played at LSU. I love having them around. They have a wealth of knowledge. It's something that we did at Miami with Jimmy Johnson. It's something that we did at USC with Pete Carroll. So we continue those great traditions.
One of the things that's going to be interesting this year is watching running back Derek Geis. Obviously, he had a chance to play when Leonard Fournette chose not to play in the bowl game for a variety of reasons to get him ready for the draft. 138 yards and 2 scores and a win for him. What are the expectations you see for Derek Geis going forward?
You know, Darius is pretty level-headed.
Excuse me.
But he is a tremendous young man, very powerful. He's probably a better spread back than most of the guys I've been around. We're going to run the spread offense. We're going to put him one-on-one with linebackers and safeties in space, and most of those he's going to win most of those battles.
It's the one thing about LSU, and that, I guess, was the head-scratcher and followed Les Miles, the previous coach, a bit, was the athletic ability of the players you get at LSU is just incredible. You see them go on to the next level, and it was always like, okay, they should be able to win more. Now there is Alabama in the SEC, which stops a lot of people. But is in recruiting LSU? Is it still? I mean, the athletic it's mostly a lot in state. I know as well.
You know, we're very fortunate. We have one of the best states in the country to recruit Louisiana, and if we get the best players in Louisiana to come to LSU, we're going to win many championships. But one of the things that you mentioned when we took over, Steve Ensminger did a great job. We went to the spread offense. We put our playmakers in space and gave them the ball. The first time we were coaches at LSU, we broke a school record for most yards. So it's evident that you can give the ball to the playmakers in space and have success.
The players obviously knew you because you were there as assistant. Then the interim coach said they knew you. So when you became the head coach, Did you do anything different? Did you open all the spots up? It wasn't like there's a – because players kind of know who has what spot where, but is it open competition everywhere? How did you approach it when you became the head man?
Yes, we did. The competition was open at every spot, and we wanted to make Tuesday and Wednesdays harder than we could do on Saturdays. We changed the practice schedule. We practiced shorter. We practiced more intense, and the guys bought into it.
Well, one of the things that's been interesting is watching – the SEC be such a dominant football conference over a decade, really, in college football. But then you had Florida State win, and then you had Clemson win. And Jimbo Fisher has now come out there and says he believes that the ACC is the conference of record and the best conference for college football in the entire game. What's your opinion on that?
Having been in a bunch of conferences and a bunch of schools, I believe the differences in the SEC is the players, especially their front seven. It's hard to match those guys. I think you have more number one draft choices coming out of the SEC than any conference, and I think it's still the best conference in the United States.
Yeah, I don't think it's tough to get a lot of argument on that. And when you say SEC, everybody always says Alabama. There's no way you can just look at one team. I don't think you play them until November, so it doesn't matter until then.
Let's start hyping it now.
But I mean,
right now.
But is it fair to say SEC? You say Alabama first, and then everybody is shooting for Alabama?
Well, you have to give them credit. They're the benchmark. They've done a great job, and they won most of the conferences in the last couple of years. But, we're LSU. We're going to be what LSU wants to be, and LSU has won championships before.
What's the biggest difference in the teams that have been on the field for LSU in the last few years and the team that will go on the field this year? What can LSU fans expect to look different?
Energy. I think we're going to play with energy. We're going to play excitement the way Charlie Mack's team played. I grew up watching LSU football. I know how the defense played, the excitement. We're going to be a spread offense, totally spread. We won't have a fullback in the backfield, so it's going to be different. We got a new special team system. I think that we're going to be more creative on special teams and be a lot better there.
Is the spread, is that going? It's pretty much in a lot of places now anyway. Is that where colleges are? And then we always talk about the transfer from a college player to the NFL, but you don't have to worry about that. That's not your job to worry about that. But it does seem that that's the way in college football now.
I think you have to do it because it scores points. It's like basketball on grass, and you have to keep up.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because that spread offense, one of the things that's been really consistent with LSU the last few years, wide receivers will get drafted and defenders will get drafted all over the place.
Right.
Quarterback has been a little bit of an issue the last couple of years. What do you think about Danny Etling going forward? He's recovering from that back surgery. Yeah. What do we expect the quarterback play to be like at LSU this year?
I really like Danny. I think Danny's a gamer. He's gotten better in the Matt's offense. We had a quarterback competition. We kept it alive. We're going to keep it alive throughout the fall camp. We're going to give everybody a chance. Miles Brennan is a young man that we recruited. We haven't seen him in practice yet. We're going to give him a chance to compete, decide who's the starting quarterback. Let me say something to you. Danny thrives in competition. I think he's going to be an excellent quarterback if he is our starter.
How long do you wait? I've always the quarterback question,
right. Because it's different than
any other position. And to me is, and obviously I think to a coach, the sooner you find out, the better, because at some point the other 10 guys need to know who's in that huddle and who's leading. So do you have a date set in mind that you said, I got to have my starter by this time so we can really start to get cohesive?
That's a good question, Mike. Right now, Danny's our starter, and nobody's beating him out, and everybody knows that. If we would have played today, Danny would be the starter. Okay. Until somebody beats him out, it's his job.
And the back's okay. He's come back from it. That's the one thing a coach can't control is how a player can come back from an injury.
Yes, he's healthy. Obviously we can't see him throw in the summer, but he says he's about 90%. Danny's a battle. He's a fighter. He's somebody you love in the huddle.
Well, listen, you see LSU players get drafted, especially on the defensive side, every year. One of the kids this came up last year during the pre-draft process who was just sharp as a tack was Jamal Adams.
Oh, my God.
I mean, we always try and look at the tape, and then when the player comes here, does the tape match the attitude of the interview? And he was perfect across the board. The two guys that stood out for me during that pre-draft warm-up were Jamal and Jonathan Allen. Yeah. And I think they're both going to be really good players in the NFL. Can you tell Jets fans what they should expect from Jamal Adams, the safety that they took in the first round?
Tremendous character. Typical of LSU recruiting. We go out of state to get potential first-round draft picks. His daddy played for the New York Giants. Yep. Great parents, great support system. Jamal was never on the list for missing any class, any disciplinary action. He was a team leader. In fact, he took the team by the belt and led us in victory against Louisville, against the Heisman Trophy winner. We're going to be forever grateful for Jamal Adams. They're getting a great leader, a great young man on and off the field.
His dad was same draft as me, 1985. Yeah. His dad went 19th in the draft. I went 255.
Well, and by the way, he won a bet with his dad.
Yeah, that's right.
If he went higher,
like
and
50
he was,
grand or something like that.
50 G's. He's not sure his dad's going to pay.
A couple of quick things off the topic. In 90, you were at the U. Did you coach The Rock? Dwayne Johnson,
I did,
you made him the man he is.
It's all about you, right?
No, I remember one day he had a tough practice and he came off the field and I said, "You ought to go be a wrestler like your uncle."
Did you really say that?
Yeah,
it worked out pretty well.
He took good advice.
Well done for you. So next time,
that's great coaching. It showed that The Rock was coachable.
Yeah, exactly right. So the next time The Rock is doing one of those promo shoots for ball, it's just, hey, remember me. You owe me. What you're saying. All right. So we have to ask you this because we've been on this sort of food binge earlier.
There's
today.
a baseball player out there that eats 85 Twinkies a week, and he maxed out at 225 Twinkies a week, which is ungodly. So we're talking about binge eating and drinking.
Because why not?
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, you were on the Levitard show, and you said you drink up to 10 energy drinks a day. Do you still do 10 energy drinks a day?
No, that's not consistent, But
Mike is just breaking stuff here.
Throwing stuff on the ground. Sorry, go ahead.
Defensive line player.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, that could be on a 20-hour day, maybe during camp, but I don't do it anymore. I've curtailed my energy drink drinking.
It's probably a good smart move, huh?
I was about to say,
you don't seem to be a guy that needs too much energy.
I think he needs water and a cup of sugar, and he's probably good to go for the rest of the day. Well, we'll see what happens. You guys, start camp July 31st? Is that what it is?
Yeah, July 30th.
First game against BYU, September 2nd.
And then, of course, that game we're already hyping against Alabama in November. Ed, we appreciate you being here.
Coach.
Thanks so much. LSU coach Ed Orgeron. Next time, just wear the sweats. We're good. You can change for Sports Center later. We want you to come in your natural habitat.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Time for tweets.
Yeah.
You all right? What you got?
Time for tweets, but also Ed Orgeron is
awesome.
That voice.
He should be an FM DJ.
That's a coach's voice.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, you know what I wanted to ask him, and we didn't get to it? If he sat down and had a conversation with Bobby Hebert, how many words would the rest of us understand? If they just started going, the two of them just started going.
It's so mean because when he talks, I've compared it to in the Waterboy, the coach. I forgot the call. I forgot the coach.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. That's so wrong.
I would love to get him and Bobby Hebert and tape a conversation just to see how many words the rest of us, because when they start going real fast, how much the rest of us actually understand.
Yeah, it is. But I love the guy. I think he's excellent. So, all
right, so we've got tweets coming in, all kinds of food.
Yeah, again, the food, we go back to the initial conversation. The White Sox called up Yohan Moncada, an infielder who has been known to eat 85 Twinkies a week. His high was 225 Twinkies a week. So we asked for your biggest junk food binge. Jay Wiggle.
Jay Wiggle?
Mm.
The Jay Wiggle?
Mm. Awesome. I don't know. Says he ate 1,500 Hot Pockets in a year.
That's impossible.
Is it in a year?
No, maybe not. How about 12 chili dogs in 30 minutes? 12 chili cheese dogs.
Chili cheese dog.
Grumpy Miner.
Big Benjamin ate a whole cheesecake in an afternoon, then lied by saying it fell on the ground.
What was he, a Friends episode?
What are you lying
with Chandler
for? I'm proud of that.
Chandler and Rachel Green? Is that what we're talking about? Again, no surprise that his Twitter handle is Big Benjamin.
Yeah.
Little Benjamin would not be making that claim.
Nope. So real quick to the 1,500 Hot Pockets in a year, that comes up to just a hair over 4 Hot Pockets a day.
That's all right.
You could do that.
And you could do the 19 and a half hot dogs over. You could do it.
I'm done.
I have faith in you.
For 10 seconds, I'm done.
There are fewer things in baseball more exciting than watching a triple play. They range from the routine 5-4-3 to the 4-6-5-6-5-3-4 triple play, which the boys in the Bronx turned back in 2013. But there's a new contender on the books. 3 of our favorite things are all coming together. National Hot Dog Month, Ballpark Buns, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ballpark Buns, America's favorite bun, is celebrating National Hot Dog Month with the Fame On sweepstakes. The lucky winner will get a VIP experience at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, plus $3,000 for travel. The VIP experience includes behind-the-scenes and after-hours access to an amazing institution that keeps baseball legends alive. And don't forget to keep your summer rolling with Ballpark. Perfect for grilling, tailgating, parties, and more. Ballpark hot dog and hamburger buns deliver fresh taste and outstanding flavor. With 5 varieties of buns and rolls, make Ballpark buns part of your next meal and watch the crowd go wild. To enter the Fame On sweepstakes, go to ballparkbuns.com/fameon. It's Client Appreciation Month at Sport Clips Haircuts. Get a double MVP for the price of an MVP, or cool it down and try the MVP on ice. It's our way of saying thanks for all you do. Hurry, ends July 31st. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
All right, to hour number 4.
Yes, sneak peek week.
Yeah, 11/27 later this fall. We'll be doing this more often.
Officially start the show.
Yeah, so this is the unofficial start.
How's it going so far?
Hey, it's not your turn to talk yet.
We haven't even introduced
you yet.
Sit there and look pretty.
You just sit there and look tan, and
I can't take my time. I want to throw a bomb in the middle of the table to start.
Well, I'll tell you what, bomb thrown back, okay? As we continue on it's unbelievable. On ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests, including some rude ones, appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tweet us at 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Now,
Will Cain, please only speak when you're spoken to.
I gotta stick with the brand, Golic. I mean, troublemaker, unlikable. I didn't even want to wait for the introduction to begin brand reinforcement.
So wait a minute. Two things there that are news to me. A, you have a brand, and B,
mean and so good.
This is what we do. This is what's going to start with the show. We insult our guests.
Who says unlikable? Who says you're unlikable?
I don't know, Trey.
So where's that coming?
I may have tweeted that.
Okay, you say that's you. Okay, that's you. I got it.
Sorry.
Well, I find you unlikable right now because you just got back from my favorite place on the planet, which is Maui. How was it?
You know what? It's perfect.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's why it's your favorite place on the planet.
Correct.
I mean, if you said the definition of paradise is the idyllic place, physically, perhaps, vibe-wise, everything.
Yes.
Hawaii checks all the boxes.
100%.
It's like God said, this is going to be the little playground where we're going to establish perfection.
Yes,
Hawaii is
exactly
that.
right. Now, you go every summer, you say, right?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, because you're here, you're back.
Because I'm an everyman. I'm from a small town in Texas. I'm not going to,
talk about his excursions and stuff. Why are you doing that to the guy?
Get over it.
Yeah,
you ought to go back in whale season. Have you ever done a whale season?
You know what? I never have.
It's a totally different experience.
And that little area right there between Lanai, Molokai, and Maui supposedly is just filled with thousands of whales. It's their little breeding ground of perfection.
Correct.
In line with that paradise, the whales seem to think
the
so
whales
too.
know where to go.
This is fascinating.
They grow by the whales grow by 11. I'm all in on the whales. They grow by 11% every. It's like whale soup out there.
Let's get back to that 2-week-old sandwich goal.
No. Let's go back to the whales. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you're right. You're a common man. So where do you park your private plane?
Oh,
is it Kapalua Airport or you're flying a commercial into Maui?
Holy smokes!
Hey, we're moving. Well, it's like uncomfortable topic.
He
we'll
really
move on.
is. He'd loosen a tie if he had one on.
If he had one on, but he doesn't. Which is why we like him. Which is why we didn't think he was unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where do you want to go first? By the way, you're giving us the Straight Talk, just so you know. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with this quarterback list. Quarterback list of the modern era. So the list put together, according to Mike Sandos on ESPN.com, the top 10 quarterbacks from 1978 on. And he lists them, again, 1 to 10, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, John Elway, Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Steve Young, Drew Brees, Dan Fouts. Trey and I threw out Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, not on that list. So what do you think of that list? I guess start right at the top. Would Tom Brady be number one? I'm still battling with him and Joe Montana.
Really?
I am. Because I'm not going – listen, I understand Super Bowl wins and such, but there's the how do you play? How do you play even if your team loses? That's why, Marino never won a Super Bowl, but I played with the guy, played against the guy. I know how he plays. I know he's an all-time great quarterback. So I'm not just looking at the fact that, you have 5 Super Bowls. I get it. but early on in those Super Bowls, it was more of a defensive-led team. So I try to look a little more into it, and I guess the question comes down to because it's a modern era. I've seen all these guys play. I played against a number of these guys as well. And if I had a Super Bowl and I had to name a starting quarterback, I'm not sure if I go Brady or Montana. I don't know if I'm not still leaning toward Joe Montana.
Well, I did not play against any of these guys. I saw most of them in my lifetime live. And I used to struggle with the same thing you're struggling with now, Montana over Brady. However, I think it's unassailable now. I think it's clear that Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, whether we take into account rings, stats, longevity, leadership, none of which, by the way, on those abstract qualities is Montana lacking.
Right.
It's just that Brady has so far exceeded everyone's expectation, not just for himself, but what we can demand of other human beings on those levels. And so Tom Brady, to me, is the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm sorry, that's not far enough. Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time, regardless of position. He has mastered the sport in a way no other person has.
So you take him over people will say Jim Brown. People will say Jerry Rice because he's so far above wide receivers. You say Tom Brady's the best of all time.
In an all-time fantasy draft, Tom Brady has to be the number one.
Would you have
pick.
Montana number 2?
I would. I would put Montana above Manning.
Which is interesting because you would have number 1 a 6th-round pick and number 2 a 3rd-round pick.
Well,
before you get to any number 1 picks overall in the draft.
That's
pretty wild.
Well, that's the interesting thing because both felt like they had something to prove. I do have to say I disagree with something being unassailable, which means everyone else is 100%
Did not
wrong.
know what that word was at all. I just kind
of I like things being assailed. I want you to assail me, Trey, but in the end, I will be 100%
then you're asking
right.
the right person.
I'd like you to speak at the level that this show is accustomed to. That's what I'd like.
By the way, while we're at it, so self-awareness is a completely underrated quality. One of my favorite guys is this guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a social media guru. He talks about self-awareness being something we should all strive for. It's actually probably the trampoline upon which you can succeed. You can't ever, exceed reality unless you first recognize it. I'm a homer for the Dallas Cowboys. That is my self-awareness. I was born and raised in Sherman, Texas, an hour outside of Dallas. My first memory of having real emotion is Dwight Clark catching with Stickum on his hands a touchdown in the back of the end zone from Joe Montana over at Too Tall Jones.
That was thrown away.
That was
supposed
tough.
to be a throwaway.
Wait, did you like the with Stickum on his hands?
It was allowed.
I know my homerism. But to think that Troy Aikman is not a top 10 quarterback since 1978 seems egregious.
Okay, who comes off the list?
That's
all
the
right.
thing.
Well, first of all, can we just move him up to 11 by putting him over Kurt Warner? Can we at least do that without any argument?
I would have those 10 and the 3 we named all ahead of Kurt
because they
Warner.
have Warner at 11, tied with who? Someone else at 11.
I have not seen
Roethlisberger.
Right.
And then comes Aikman. I think Aikman deserves to be above Fouts, Breeze. No one's going to like this. Everyone's going to get mad at me. Favre. I think 3 Super Bowl rings says a ton. And you talk about the quality of the offensive line, the quality of the team around you, but you can't take away those 3 rings.
You're right. Those teams were wonderful, and those teams contributed to all of that. This is the assailable part of your argument, if you will.
Okay.
I agree with you. No one is a bigger fan of Troy Aikman than me. I think people have come at me and look at his numbers when he had this, and I'm like, well, shocking. He was a better player when he had better teammates. That's kind of the way it works. But you can't judge that by the Super Bowl rings won, because then you're telling me that a quarterback is the reason a team wins a Super Bowl. And
just the main reason.
No, he's not the main reason. Let's go back to the last 2 Super Bowls that Tom Brady has won, okay? And that the Tom Brady's team has won. If Malcolm Butler doesn't make that interception, they don't win that one. If Dante Hightower doesn't have a strip sack fumble that changes the game with 7:30 to go, they don't win that one. So the last 2 Super Bowls won by Tom Brady, more importantly, won by the Patriots, would not be there if it weren't for 2 defensive players making unbelievable plays when it mattered most. Did Tom contribute mightily? Absolutely he did. But the idea that a quarterback wins you a Super Bowl is the most assailable fact or assailable statement of all time.
Okay, so
it's completely incorrect.
As long as we're assailing each other.
Oh, boy.
I did not say that a quarterback wins a Super Bowl on his own. I did not say that a quarterback by himself
but you just
is enough. Hold on.
Hold on. You just used the reason for Aikman. No, we're not doing that.
I think we are. You're just not labeling it.
I'm not a labeler. I don't believe in labels. You just used the argument for Aikman, not his play, but his Super Bowl rings. You just did that.
I am making the argument the single biggest differentiating factor on a football field is the man playing quarterback. That's
true.
You can take
That's
the field
true.
is what you just did. You said, give me me Malcolm Butler's interception. Give me offensive
what
line
I
play.
said was you can't make the argument for Troy being better than these guys based on the fact that he has 3 rings. That's what you cannot do, because that's illogical.
I think it's a very heavily weighted piece of evidence. And you're right, it's not enough on its own. But on the other hand, neither are stats. Neither are...
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. It's how you
yards.
play in the moment. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct. It's just the idea, and we went on this with Elway. Everybody changed on John Elway because of the last 2 Super Bowls that he won, really courtesy of Mark Schlereth, if you think about it. Well, he didn't win one before Schlereth showed up. His stat line in that first Super Bowl win was very eerily similar to Peyton Manning's stat line in Super Bowl 50 when he won his second, thus flipping the narrative for many people, which is hogwash, because that's not why they won that game. So you have to understand the quality of the play, not based on the outcome of the game. That's what I'm saying.
And that's a subjective quality.
Correct.
There you go.
Which my subjective account says it's unassailable that Troy Aikman is a top 10 quarterback.
See, there you go.
Okay to be wrong.
That's the beauty.
I'm glad that you're wrong.
But that's the beauty of lists.
Wait, Trey. He's not top 10 over since 1978.
No, I'm not saying that. Not saying that. What I'm saying is, I don't think you can make the argument based on the fact that his team, with the greatest line of all time, the greatest rusher in the history of the NFL in terms of yards, the only player besides Tom Brady with 5 Super Bowl rings, Charles Haley, playing on defense along with Deion Sanders and a bunch of other players.
So what he's saying is he agrees he's top 10, but doesn't agree with your reason for
Correct.
being
and he's
top
very
10.
passionate about the reason not being.
Well, it's a stickler with me. Wins and losses and championships are not a quarterback stat. They're not a quarterback stat. They're not.
Okay, onward we move. Is that cool? We get everything out of our system?
Just want to say one thing. Steve Young retired in 1999 as the all-time leader in completion percentage, passer rating, and touchdown interception ratio. 5 more years, he might be at the top of this list.
That could be very true. Let's go to what's going on in the world today as camps get ready to start. 5 teams have rookies reporting today. The Dallas Cowboys are one of them, but a rookie not there is going to be Zeke Elliott, who's not a rookie, obviously, anymore. Are you personally concerned about him? Are you concerned about his situation? Should Dallas Cowboy fans and his teammates be concerned about the road he's kind of going down?
Yeah, I mean, I like to answer questions, Mike, just like you asked them. And you asked me, am I concerned? I'm absolutely concerned. I think Zeke is line stepping, right? He is testing the limits of his accountability. Nothing he has done, or at least at this point been proven to have done, is egregious. I mean, he went 100 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone. Not good, Zeke,
3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. You know that road. I know that road.
A busy road.
That's not like a lonely dirt road in Dallas. That's a heavily trafficked road.
It's a tollway. People seem to think the rules don't apply on a tollway for some reason.
I know.
Isn't that fascinating? They really do. If I pay to get on this road,
and I can drive
the
however
speed limit
I want.
doesn't matter.
Except I know guys who used to throw in like buttons into the toll bucket and go through. So, but anyway, continue.
The bar fight, we're still waiting to see the details on that. Was he taking up for a woman? I mean, assault and fights are really, honestly, never, at least legally, the answer. But so far, here's what I would say. Yes, I'm concerned, Mike. I am concerned. But I don't think anything right now warrants a suspension for Ezekiel Elliott. I don't understand the policy under which the NFL would suspend Ezekiel Elliott at this point. They've had a year-long investigation going, and I don't understand how you can be on super secret probation for a year while details accumulate on apparently multiple different incidents, and somehow you take the totality to say, 1 or 2 games. That's not how it should work.
Well, that's been the biggest issue with the DB policy since the whole Ray Rice situation. We still don't have a clear idea how the NFL handles that. You're right. That's the bigger issue. But the suspension, I don't think, has anything related to these last 2 incidents. That suspension was looming, according to Adam Schefter, potential suspension, we should say, based on the investigation that's still ongoing. And it's been going on far too long.
And if that's the case,
far too long.
If that's the case,
wrap it up already.
If this 1 or 2 game suspension is tied to that, we know the NFL baseline is 6 games. What does 1 or 2 have to do with anything?
Well, see, this is where, in my opinion, the NFL got in trouble by coming out with the policy and saying 6 games. They said that loudly as the headline, but then under
mitigating circumstances.
It could be less. If it's worse, it could be more. And
so we're winging it.
So, exactly. Correct. Instead of just 6 games. 6 games. You want to appeal it, appeal it. I would have done 6 games, and if it's really egregious, we go up to 10 games. I would not have lessened it at all and say, you don't like it, appeal it. If you win in your appeal, so be it, and it gets knocked down. But let somebody else do that. We need to set the line, which they didn't. How about what Herm said yesterday? Does the team come into play at all? And I want to ask Bill Polian this. He comes up in about 15 minutes to join us.
He'll have an interesting take on this one.
Where should the team be involved in this? Now, taking the domestic violence, because that's completely separate issue to what happened at the parade of standing by the girl and lifting the shirt. Which
St. Patrick's Day parade.
This fight we're still trying to get the details of, and the driving 100 miles an hour, going through that. Is there a responsibility in your mind for a team to say, you know what? Incident, maybe as singular outside domestic violence, maybe not worthy of suspension, but to your line, a line stepper checking out his, reach. Should we sit him down?
Should we sit him down? That's where your question ended. There are things teams can and should do, Mike, and I think that the way the Dallas Cowboys handled Dez Bryant is actually a good model for this. We seem to think, not just in football, but in society, that the only way to influence behavior is through punishment. That if we have a vast criminal code that no one can actually tell us how many laws there are, and we have long prison sentences, then we will correct behavior. That's both in society and now in football, where we have all these convoluted rules. When the truth is, if we really want to get somebody on the straight and narrow, perhaps there are other ways. And what the Cowboys did with Dez Bryant was get him mentors, get him people that would be around him to positively influence the choices he made, and honestly, babysit him. And so I think a path like that might be more productive for Ezekiel Elliott than saying, you know what, let's just sit him for a game or two. Maybe that would motivate Zeke. I don't know. That's now a personal question for how Ezekiel Elliott is motivated. But I'm not sure just sit is always the instinct that works.
Well, nothing is ever always the instinct that works, because they tried what you're talking about with Dez that did work with Pac-Man Jones, and he got into a fight with, I think, the security guy that was trying to keep him. And it took Pac-Man Jones' own self-awareness to realize, I got to stop this, otherwise I won't be playing the game anymore. That finally got through to him. Zeke's still 21 years old. I mean, he's still only 21 years old. So sometimes with a younger player, that kind of discipline does work. But you're right. There is no brand that you can say this is going to work for every single person, because every single person is different.
However, look, you guys both have kids. I heard you both talking about them this morning. I have kids. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old.
We don't have kids anymore. We have people that used to be kids that are now adults.
And you married one off this weekend. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of fun, emotional, still sweating out
get
poison.
Over it. Yeah.
I heard your other put the over-under on 10 years before he was married.
Mike said it before he's getting 10. I said, what are you kidding me? Are you going to be married at, 37? Is he? No.
But here's the thing, and the reason I bring up kids is this. I'm a firm believer in rules over regulations. I'm a firm believer that here is my standard of expectation for your behavior. If you break it, this will happen. If it remains muddy, if it's constant little corrections along the way where either the child or the player doesn't know what is expected of him, if it's a laundry list of regulations that we must adhere to, you allow for wiggle room, you allow for misunderstanding. You should have hard rules that everyone understands, and the punishment should be clear following from those rules. That's how, if you go the punishment route, you influence behavior.
I get that, and that makes all the sense in the world, but at some point, you're talking about a 9-year-old. Mm-hmm. These are 20 to 25-year-old men.
Hey, man, I'm talking about people on Wall Street as well. I'm talking about 45-year-olds.
Let's not even try and correct that.
It's not political. In the end, Trey, it's not political. It's not anything. I'm telling you that human beings work very well with simplicity.
I agree with that. Yeah. You do this wrong, this happens.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
Although that ship has sailed with Cowboys for many years.
And it sailed on a lot of things because of the way it sailed with the policy of it 6 games. But now it's only 1 or 2 games. So exactly. I completely agree. I want to get to this one just because I'm wondering if it is changing. The Mayweather-McGregor fight, which now it seems is going to have more bets on it and more money bet on it than the Super Bowl.
Which is crazy.
But their tour, their promotional tour going on has got racial, has got homophobic. It's gone down a road now where I think these two guys are just playing their roles to try and get the clicks as much as they can. There are those that are saying even if they're doing that, it's wrong and this shouldn't be happening right now. Has it, in your mind, taken a turn with how far they've taken things to try and sell this fight that now it could be actually hurting the sales for this fight?
No, it will not hurt sales for this fight. No. The spectacle is what people are buying. I don't think you're asking me to pass judgment on my fellow human beings on whether or not they at some point go, you know what, this is ugly. I don't want any part of this. We're people that turn our heads at car wrecks, Every time there's a car wreck, We turn our heads. We're going to be turning our heads for this. Now, I don't. You bring up all these things that have come up during the promotional tour. Should that make people turn their heads away? Is this a surprise? Is this something we shouldn't have expected?
I think we expected a spectacle, but did we expect it? Some are saying, did we expect it to go down this road? Of the components that it's gone.
How can we expect?
I guess when a guy shows up with a suit that says "F you all"
and
in the pinstripe,
I
guess
the parameters have clearly been defined.
Seems so.
And in the end, by the way, I don't know. I don't judge us for buying this fight. I don't judge us for tuning into this fight. It is a spectacle. Sports is entertainment. It has ugly aspects to it. It's going to have entertaining aspects to it. It'll have entertaining aspects to it, not just in the lead up, but on the night of the fight. Mm-hmm. And as for the bet, that's fascinating, by the way. Most people, that's one of two things. People betting on what they feel is a sure thing for a very small return.
Right.
Or people saying, you know what? The lotto's always worth it.
Well,
the lotto is always worth playing.
According to Forbes, McGregor's already been knocked out in sparring. That's a bad sign, man. And he's a part-time boxer. I get it. He's boxed in the past, but that's not his milieu, his genre, his strength right now. He's going up against a guy who's the best, maybe the best defensive fighter of all time. Maybe the best defensive fighter of all time. And a real, actual full-time boxer has never beaten him.
But you want to see it still, right?
Oh,
I'm not so.
He's not so
much.
sure he's getting.
Really?
I am. Oh yeah, I am.
Well, I'm in.
Just let me. I'm
absolutely
happy
in.
for both of you.
You know what he's going to do? He's going to go to somebody's house and not chip in. Is what he's going to
try
do.
To get the highlights. And
I'm just saying, there's always a way around things. There's always a way around things. Just like there's always a way around denying that you flew your private jet to Maui.
There's always a way around for you to actually debate me, but reject the idea that you're embracing debate.
No, I'm not embracing debate. I felt like I had to.
You two are fun to listen to.
It was. I felt it was a spiritual calling more than anything else. We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks for having me,
Appreciate
fellas.
the Hawaii tan. Next time, let me know and I'll hop on the back.
Hey, the tan's on the unprofessional side, right? Like you show up from vacation, there's a level at which you say, that's a little unprofessional.
No, I don't.
Oh, hell no.
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
You
like
wear
that
that
thing.
tan with
pride. I go to the point where I have no tan lines.
Baked. Okay, hold on.
How do we like that one?
That's treating me worse than the egg sandwich. I'm not going to lie to you. Oh, someone save me from myself and my partner.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. Well, Greeny, we're halfway through another baseball season, and we're really seeing some players who stand out as winners.
Kind of like business travelers who win at business by staying at La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's because you can put your La Quinta Returns loyalty points to work on the spot with instant free nights.
Just drive up with no reservation and instantly redeem points for a free night that same night simply by using the La Quinta app.
It's like hitting a grand slam.
With an app instead of a bat.
Well played.
Prepare to win at business by learning more about instant free nights and check out the summer rates at lq.com.
All right, we roll on. Mike and Trey, Trey and Mike, Golic and Wingo, Wingo and Golic, Wing Golic, the Go-Go.
Tray of donuts.
Tray of donuts. But that would mean you're just donuts. You're okay with
that? I don't
that?
care. Why would I care about that?
See, we need to get you on the hot dog bandwagon.
No.
We're doing that.
No.
We're doing that. Anyway, that's for a later date. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always call him, the Commander-in-Chief.
Yes.
Bill Polian joins us in studio, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. There is really... I mean, I could sit and talk to you about these four topics that I want for the next hour and a half.
Yes, we could.
Unfortunately, we will run out of time.
Yes, we will.
But there's so many I want to get to. And I guess the first thing is the idea of what Kirk Cousins has basically said to the team, which is, I'm good. I want to see if you're good. That's an unusual dynamic for a player to have in the NFL these days, yes?
Well, it is, but this is an unusual situation.
Correct.
It's a keep in mind, and Mike knows this full well because he played under another system.
Before Plan B.
The system itself governs what goes on, the salary cap. So it's a pure business decision governed by a collectively bargained system. That's point one. So the question of whether or not Kirk Cousins is as good as player X, Y, or Z is irrelevant.
Correct.
Means nothing. So now what has Kirk Cousins gotten out of these 2 tags? He's gotten generational wealth, right?
Yes,
Correct.
for about $45 million.
Exactly right. And he's a smart guy. So that's going to be handed down to his grandchildren and perhaps beyond. And he certainly never has to work another day in his life unless he chooses to. So he's got no worries at all other than his own personal pride in playing the game and wanting to win. And he's a heck of a competitor. So that's not a problem. There's no pressure on him. Someone asked me, is there pressure on Kirk Cousins? How could there be pressure?
Right.
You work for a living to feed your family. He's fed his family for generations. There's no pressure. It's fun now. So he can sit back and say, well, okay, I'm not quite ready to consider what you're offering. I want some time to do that, and I'll take some time after the season to do it. On the Redskins' part, they paid market rate for a quarterback without any long-term liability. That's what long-term contracts give you, is liability at the back end. So they're in perfect shape. Now, is there a marriage at the end of the season? Well, certainly the Redskins showed the framework for that. And I believe what's reported is close to true.
There's no reason not to believe it.
That's exactly right. So all that has to happen for a long-term deal is to increase the guarantees in some form over time.
Right.
And the Redskins will take on some long-term liability, and Kirk's people will give them the structure that helps them on the cap, and you got a deal. Also, Kirk may say, well, I want to see what else is out there, i.e. San Francisco or somewhere else. So he's got that right to do it. He's in the driver's seat. Now, what the Redskins have to do, and the good news is that Bruce Allen is the best in the league at doing this, is formulate a strategy if Kirk says, I want to go on the market. Do they put the transition tag on him?
Which would be like 34?
28.
No, 28.
And then the tag would be 34. That's what it is.
And have the right to match, in which case it would be match and trade, very probably.
Right.
And they may do that, but Bruce has the whole season to think about that. So this is the best of all possible worlds. The Redskins have a good starting quarterback. The quarterback is making generational money. The Redskins had the opportunity to strategically plan for his departure if that's what comes about. And they also, both parties, have the chance to make a long-term deal. So everybody's happy.
We don't see these long-term monster deals in the NFL for quarterbacks, and then those teams usually fare very well because of what it does to the rest of the team. Derek Carr may be a situation down the road. Now, they don't have to pay Amari Cooper yet or Khalil Mack, but when they do, that's when kind of the blank hits
rubber
the fan.
meets the road.
So
I prefer blank hitting the fan.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
How difficult is that? Because you don't want a guy to have to mute what he can make, but it's also easy for a GM to say, all right, you take all this money. I mean, we're going to have a whole lot of trouble building a team around you. There's that fine line of how that gets worked through.
That's the rough part for the GM. That's the rough part. You have to, basically speaking, you can pay market rate to between 10 and 12 players. If you do that, including the quarterback, if you do that, the rest of your team are minimum salary guys, basically. And that's what the real successful teams have done over time, including what we did in Indianapolis, including to some degree what the Patriots do. So the bottom line is that's the way the system works. The question is, how do you for the general manager, A, who do you pay, and B, how do you fill in the blanks at the other positions?
Well,
do you think, I'm sorry, Trey, do you think when the next negotiation comes up, this system will be different after it?
I think that the union will drive hard to up the rookie salaries, and I think the management will fight hard to keep that system. There'll be some tweaks in that system. I can see some areas where you could tweak it and have it still be fair for management. The rest of it, listen, the salary cap's $170 million. Now, they're going to be rank and file players. Booger were here, he'd tell you limit the quarterbacks, limit the stars, so there's more for us. Well, that's an internal union argument.
Right.
As far as
there's a lot of us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You were one of them.
Yeah. well, that brings up a really interesting point that Herm brought up on the show yesterday, which was he said he'd like to see the salary cap, because it is a hard cap in the NFL, unlike Major League Baseball or NBA where it can be manipulated to a certain degree. You really can't do that in football. he brought the suggestion designating one player. Most times it would be a quarterback, but it might be a Von Miller or a Khalil Mack or somebody like that, and designate them outside the salary cap.
That's the Bird exception.
Yes.
It was brought up in 1989 when we began negotiating. And the owners leaped across the table and said, no, 1,000 times no.
Do you think they'd still feel that way now?
I do. I think the hard cap is something that they are married to. They realize that it works to their benefit. And it's
it works to their benefit a ton.
It's not terribly deleterious to the players, because if you look at what the franchise tag has done, it has paid Kirk Cousins, who's not as good as Andrew Luck or Carr,
correct,
or Big Ben, or Eli, or Aaron Rodgers, good quarterback, but not in that league. It's paid him handsomely. So the whole system has worked exactly as Paul Tagliabue and Gene Upshaw designed it.
How about like in basketball, the cap is $99 million, and then if you go over $119 million, you pay the luxury tax. Baseball has a luxury tax as well. How about that?
That's a completely different philosophical approach than the hard cap.
Yes,
and I'll make a perhaps politically incorrect reference here, but it's really funny. Steve Gutman, who, along with Jim Irsay and George Young and myself, were the consultants when we first put the cap together, put it this way in a discussion of that very issue, including some people from the NBA were in the room. And he said, the question is, do you want a helmet or do you want a yarmulke? The management council chose to go for a helmet, a hard cap, and it's worked exceptionally well. And I don't think that the luxury tax, that was, we examined that.
You did.
The owners didn't think that was in their best interest.
All right. Well, let's be clear about one thing. If it's not in the owner's best interest, it's not going to happen.
And
they have all the power.
Then
they
it's
do.
going to be up to the players of how long they can last, and we've seen that. I was part of it in '87.
Yeah, if you were an owner, why would you want to change the system?
No, I agree with that. So it would be up to the players to really fight that, and that's going to be a hard
when
fight.
You know your career is so short in the NFL to begin with. But I would love, Bill, to see a more partnered relationship between the NFL owners and the NFLPA. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting in the NBA is how well Adam Silver seems to work with the owners and the players together to provide a true partnership where they both seem invested. It does seem at times that the NFL and the NFLPA are always just ramming heads.
Well, the last agreement in 11 was contentious because it included a lockout, and it included some things that, particularly the 10-year term, that were quite out of the ordinary.
Yes.
And the players themselves look back now and say, boy, I wish we hadn't done that. And I wish we hadn't anticipated, we'd better anticipated the explosion of television. Well, that's just great negotiating on Roger Goodell's part. But they're heading in a direction right now where the league office is trying to reach out, and some owners are trying to reach out and say, look, we can work better with the players. The players' input has always been accepted by the competition committee. There's more of it now, and they did make some changes that were requested by the players. That's generally always been true, but they're making more of an attempt now. The rules with celebration is an attempt to reach out to the players and say, look, we want you to be yourselves. We want you to promote yourself. There are old fogies like me that are probably not in favor of it, but the league is reaching out and saying, hey, we'll go in your direction. So the strategy clearly is, as they approach the next negotiation, which is probably 4 years away, can we make some agreements in the short run, that leads up to a more cooperative atmosphere in the long run. A lot of that is the two lead negotiators. Roger is certainly making an attempt I don't know where D. Smith is, very honestly.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could get some agreement before that time comes. I want just a minute or two on this before we have to let you go. The Zeke Elliott situation, in a broader sense. Zeke, as Will Cain was in here, kind of line stepping. Where's the accountability of taking the domestic violence thing out of it, the other things that are going on? We're seeing a list of things. Where in your mind is the responsibility, as Herm Edwards sat here yesterday and told us of times, he called the league and said, I got this one. I'm going to sit the guy. In your mind, when you were with teams and you talked to coaches, where were you guys with that of saying we need to sit a guy and not wait for the league to do something?
Management Council has always, Management Council being the league's negotiating arm and being involved in discipline, has always said it's better in the long run, in terms of the collective bargaining agreement, to allow the league to do the discipline. And unless there was an exceedingly egregious circumstance, I can only think of one, we always acceded to that. I understood why, because every step that you take as a club is precedential for the other clubs, and it may not fit exactly the way Management Council wants it to fit. So you get plenty of legal help from Management Council. That's fine. I've always believed let them do it, and I think Jerry's going to do the same thing. And as you mentioned, the domestic violence issue is in play here.
Right.
And that's not anything that an individual club wants to touch.
No,
in fact,
that's right.
they have no right to do it.
Exactly.
It's separate and apart. So you got some liability there. I don't want to go into a big legal discussion, but there's some liability there.
Well, listen, we appreciate it. Again, I could do this for 3 hours, and it would be great. That's why we love having you on NFL Live all the time. Billy, as always, we appreciate it. And you can see Bill on SportsCenter and NFL Live later on today, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
It's a really good question you just asked me.
Thank you.
For everybody else joining now, this top 10 list, 78 and on, of the top 10 of guys I played against.
Who would you rank?
I played against Joe Montana, John Elway, Dan Marino, and with Dan, Brett Favre, Steve Young. I played against Troy Aikman. I played against Jim Kelly. I played with Warren Moon.
Right.
So I played with or against a ton of these guys. I do think Montana would be the one that you were just like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
What do we have to do? Marino and his release.
You could never hit him.
I mean, I was not a great pass rusher. Every now and then I would get a quick pass rush, and he'd still be rid of it, and it was so frustrating because you were right there.
Okay, so you put Montana as number one.
I put him as number one, and I said Young and Kelly right there, but also Elway.
They're not on the list. I mean, these guys are not on the top 10 list.
Jim Kelly and Troy Aikman are not on the list, nor is Warren Moon, but Young is. Steve Young is, and Jim Kelly is not. John Elway, John Elway, upfield hip, upfield hit, upfield hip. That's what you knew about John Elway when you rushed him. If you didn't rush his upfield hip, he'd spin out and he beat you.
Right.
Because he was a good athlete. Obviously, he was a really good athlete.
Well, two things there. One, you mentioned Steve Young. Now, just so you know, when people understand, when Steve Young retired in '99, he was the all-time leader in completion percentage, passer rating, and touchdown to interception ratio. Pretty darn good. So, again, I think if he had played 5 more years, you'd think of Steve a completely different way. But when you mentioned Elway, and the inside hip, outside.
Rush the outside hip, upfield hip, upfield hip.
Keep him in the pocket.
Oh my God.
Darren Woodson tells a great story about Brett Favre. Okay, it was a game between the Packers and the Cowboys at Texas Stadium, and they preached all week long with Darren. Hey, we're going to call this one blitz. And when we call it, all we want you to do is contain. Okay, we don't care if you miss them wide. Just make sure you contain.
Right.
So they call the blitz, and Darren is pumped. And he comes hauling in off the edge, and he is going to knock Brett Favre into next week. He dips in to try and get the hit. Favre doesn't even see him. Spins, runs out down the Cowboys sideline, and Woodson's chasing him. And it's down the Cowboys sidelines, and all Woodson can hear as he's chasing him, we told you not to let him go outside.
Let me
They're
tell you.
dog cussing him the entire time, and it gets better. It gets better. Favre hears it after the play and jogs back to the huddle by Woodson and goes, this white boy can move.
Let me tell you, as a defender, there can be nothing from a D line. If you have contained, nothing more damning than letting somebody outside. Now, I was an interior lineman, but at times we'd have stunts where I would come outside. Now it became my responsibility to contain it. Oh, my gosh. I mean,
Woodson heard for it for about a week and a half.
It's horrible. Now, Elway did come. Maybe I'll keep him down on that list because they came to Philly one time, and I mean, we beat them up so bad. I remember that two of the old linemen were the Wydell brothers.
Yeah.
And they were fighters, and that's kind of how I was. So we had fun scraps all. But we held them, I think, to like 30 yards of total offense.
Yikes.
You know, with that defense that we had, just smoked them and Elway in that game. But, man, he was – and he was a big guy, too, when you hit him. Tough to bring down. Yeah. But Kelly and that offense that they had, and Steve Young, the way Steve Young frustrated us – because obviously throwing the ball and what he did, but when he ran, he just frustrated the hell out of us because he was able to move the chains that way.
Absolutely. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and again, all guests appear on the phone via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So real quickly, if you had to take one guy off that list and add Kelly or Aikman or Marino, which guy would you take?
I would probably take. It's bad to say, Dan Faust. Would I take him off because he was 10? So just to drop him off.
I mean, that's the question. It's like any Pro Bowl snub or All-Star
Drew Brees. Would Drew be off that?
I don't know. I mean, he has more. I think there are 8 5,000-yard passing seasons.
Troy Aikman and Phil Simms were two quarterbacks that stood in the pocket and just would get hit in the mouth, but they'd stay in, and they were as tough as nails and throw the ball. I mean, man, good quarterback.
So you're looking at Fouts then just because he's 10?
Probably.
All right, that's fair.
Probably,
that's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
The easiest one to slide out.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're not going to take Joe Montana, Elway, or Rodgers off.
They're pretty much going to stay in there.
They're good where they are. We're pretty sure.
Sneak peek.